We just finished our first rule testing tournament. 2-foot no hit zone, 30-foot out of bounds, bigger ball. That's it, right?
That's it, yeah, on a Premier Spike net.
On a Premier Spike net.
Yeah. The tournament itself was a very mixed level tournament. At the top, it was a pro player, other Premier players there, some contender players, some women's players, some intermediate players. It was just like a big spread. I know that a lot of people feel, and I agree, that like a higher level tournament will be a really good indicator of the rules for what we're looking for. So take some of this with a grain of salt. But yeah, it felt like pool play, we were playing just like generally lower level players.
Yeah. Coolest thing about pool play was figuring out defensive strategy.
That was fun.
Yeah. And we were kind of realizing that since you had to cover a bit less angle because of the 2-foot no hit zone, we were able to play a bit more of like a funnel, like a short long kind of thing that we never could play with a smaller no hit zone because you have to be double bodied or else you're going to get hit around.
That was so cool, is that double bodies don't have to happen, and that our strategy became mirror each other and float around 5 feet and then choose what the best option is. Like sometimes we would double body, especially against the best hitters. Sometimes one of us would go long and the other one would be short, kind of funneling or just grabbing short. And then sometimes we have someone at 7 getting a nice quick touch, or you can turn and run because you only have to go out to 30 feet. You don't have to go further. So they were just like, defense felt more versatile.
You felt like the main thing for hitting was just that you need a better set.
Yeah.
But if you get a good set, I didn't feel super hindered by the 2-foot no hit zone.
Yeah.
It definitely involved more dynamic footwork, more mobility.
Right. Yeah.
And the interesting thing was that we had a couple players there who were like over 6 feet tall, like 6'3" or so.
Yeah.
And they had no issues with the 2-foot no hit zone and even said, this literally didn't affect my hitting at all.
Doesn't affect me. Okay, no change whatsoever.
And it was true on defense against those few players. It was like, oh, this player is still able to hit the same.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing to think about in terms of what we want for the sport, is that it does become a bit more heightist of like your height matters more now.
Yeah.
With a 2-foot no hit zone. Every woman who I've talked to about playing 2-foot has said that it's too big.
Everyone at the tournament was saying that women should stay at 1.5.
Which gets a little interesting when it comes to mixed play or co-ed play, is that you would maybe need 2 no hit zones, which is what we had drawn. We drew a 2-foot and a 1.5.
Like height matters more a bit for sure. I don't think it's anything crazy. Like, how tall are you?
Yeah, I'm 5'7".
This dude was putting balls away all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah, like...
I think, but definitely my style of hitting is very, like, mobile. And, like, I like to, like, jump around and move fast.
Yeah, but I also like that. Like, I think that athleticism should be rewarded in the sport.
Yeah.
People definitely got more touches on us. Not, like, a crazy amount more, but definitely more touches on us than at a regular tournament.
Yeah.
Bracket play turned out to be like a lot more fun. Yeah, just more experienced players for all of those we played.
Yeah.
And
quarters had 1 Premier player, semis had 2 Premier players, finals had a Premier player and a Pro player.
We were definitely getting a lot of touches, felt like more touches, a lot less aces and double faults.
And what was really cool was feeling like even against the pro there, Sonny, who when we're playing against him and covering him with a 1.5 no hit zone and a small ball, we really struggle to get touches against Sonny. Great hitter.
Very good hitter. In
this case, it felt really fun that we could put on second serve, not like just a boop serve, but as long as we put a little something on it, we felt very confident that we could get at least a hand on the ball and get a decent touch up.
Yeah.
So that was really nice to feel like defense actually has a chance of getting a touch.
I felt that way on defense and serve receive. I really enjoyed that. No matter what, it doesn't feel like the whole thing's impossible. Like, because at times defense and serve receive have felt like just impossible with the rules for me.
Yeah.
And I know that people are better at those skills than I am, but it was just really nice to be like on serve receive. Even if I get aced, I was like, I could have gotten that up. Whereas there's some serves with the regular rules where it's like, oh, okay, that's broken. Like that serve was broken.
Yeah. I think all in all, the day felt way more fun to us than a normal competitive spike ball tournament.
We've played like at this with this skill range too.
Yeah.
These are like local Boston city tournaments, and we've played a bunch of them throughout the last 2 years. This felt like my favorite of all of them, and we've had earlier this season. We've had some with very similar level of play, and just gone back at the end of the day and been like, that wasn't even that fun.
Yeah,
and we won that tournament
even
too.
tournaments that we won,
Yeah.
where the whole last 3 series of bracket play is just an absolute chess match, completely focused on serve, receive, and 1, 2, 3 putaways.
Right, the chess match gets so just like, ugh.
Yeah, it's so unwatchable. Like no one enjoys watching that, and it's not fun to play.
Yeah.
So then, with that general feeling of like, wow, that was really good, really good rule changes, really felt like it brought a lot more livelihood to the game.
Yeah.
Then we went to stats. First, we can show the current statistical makeup. So Scotty Beeks shared the current makeup based on the Worlds tournament.
Yeah, it's not even that much. It's literally just the finals stats of the Worlds.
Just the finals.
So that's ES versus in system. So those are not two like serve ball teams.
Yeah.
Like double faults 35%, rallies 10%, side outs, so 1, 2, 3 putaways 25%, and aces 30%.
So that means 65% of points that you are watching as a spectator and playing as a player either end on double fault or an ace.
Yeah, and 90% of points end in the first 2 possessions.
That's so disturbing.
Yeah,
of course, it's no fun to watch and no fun to play. Rallies in this counts as a defensive break, also counts as a rally.
Right.
So a defensive break meaning the defense gets a touch and then puts it away.
So 3 possession changes, like serve, the other team brings it back, and then the defense brings it back.
And we believe that we should make a very clear distinction between a defensive break and a rally. That a defensive break should be that 3 possession change, but a rally should count as 4 and beyond. Yes, we want more defensive breaks to watch, but where people get up on their feet, get out of their chair, is 4 possessions and beyond. So we think it's very important to start breaking that up too, and make it very clear that there is a big difference between a hold, which is a 1, 2, 3 put away, a defensive break, which is then 1 more possession, and a rally, which is then
4 possession changes or more.
So when we looked at our stats for the finals, double faults, 8.5%.
Versus 35%. It was because we were all putting on second serve, because we all were like, we can play defense now.
Yep.
You know, it wasn't impossible to play defense.
Aces, we had 12.3%.
Down from 30%.
I wouldn't say that we had 4 crazy servers on the net. Both Sonny and Sam are really good servers. We're decent servers.
Yep.
But that would probably look a lot different with pros.
Yeah, I think aces would definitely go up. As long as aces aren't above like 20%, I think I'd be happy.
Yeah, you don't want a fourth of points that you're watching to be an ace.
Right.
You know, that's a pretty boring sport to watch.
Yeah.
But then 1, 2, 3 putaways, so holds, was 62%.
Up from 25%.
So that means if you're watching this sport, 60% of the time, it's just they serve receive and then they put it away. That's way better than 65% of the time it ending on serve.
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
At least you're watching someone touch a ball once. Yeah. And then the last 2 stats. So if we're counting rallies in the way that Scotty Beeks did when it comes to the Worlds, which they had 10% were rallies, which again, for them, rallies was just going into a 3rd possession.
Yeah.
If we were counting anything that goes into a 3rd possession, we had 17%, up from 10% of rallies in the Worlds.
Which is cool.
which is great. I've heard some other people who did stats on more of the world's finals matches and semis and stuff like that, and they were saying that the average rally percentage was closer to 6 to 7%.
That's what I've heard as well.
So that's a solid drop from 10. And then if we're at 17 here, that means that we're pretty much doubling what the average rallies were. Mm-hmm. But again, we think it's very important to break up defensive breaks, this 3 possession, from the 4 possession rally. Mm-hmm. So if we look at that, then we see that defensive breaks was 7.5% of the time and rallies was 9.4%.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
There was not a ton, but there were some 5 and 6 possession change rallies in the finals.
Yeah. Looking at the stats was super interesting because we were playing the games and feeling and thinking, wow, this is amazing because there's so many more touches than normal. Mm-hmm. However, if you think about watching this sport, if you are only seeing 9% of the time it going into a rally, imagine if you were inviting your mom to come watch this, and that means that every 10th point there would be a rally to watch. Every 10th point. Imagine how boring that is for your mom.
Yeah.
That's so boring.
Yeah.
And
if we weren't desensitized to it, no fun for us either.
Exactly.
I think people are just used to the way the game is and a lot of people just don't have that idea of how amazing it could be.
Yes. We realize how low our expectations are.
Super low.
For the sport.
Yeah.
Which is so sad because we love the sport so much.
Yeah. I'd be super interested to see what a premier tournament or something like that would be. If
would look like
if USAR does a testing tournament with these rules this year. That would be sweet. We would love that. Or something adjacent to these rules. Or just any organization or governing body, if you're watching this, we would love to see what these rules looked like at a high level. Yeah. If it was just an STS tournament and it was Premier just played these rules.
Yeah.
I would love to see the stats from that because I think they would look different, and more importantly, even if they were the same, they would give a much more accurate readout of what the rules are like. Yeah,
obviously we understand this was one tournament.
Yeah.
One set of statistics. We don't think this is conclusive data.
No, not at all.
However, very helpful to play a full day and to feel like most games were pretty similar in terms of these amounts of touches, I would say. Games throughout the day all felt pretty similar. Our round of 8
quarters,
our quarters had a lot more rallies.
Yeah.
But one of the players there was not Premier, so I think getting more touches was maybe a little bit easier.
Maybe one of the players, the premier player on that team, got a lot of touches.
Got a lot of touches on us. Yeah. There was awesome rallies there.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think that's exactly as accurate as a tournament of just pros playing these. Looking at these stats from this tournament, where we changed 3 rules. We changed a lot. We changed ball, no hit zone, and out of bounds.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And still, if you look at the stats, if I was a spectator, I wouldn't watch this sport.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think anyone who says that they would be excited to watch that sport, it's I don't know, would you really? Would you really if 1 out of 10 plays goes into a rally?
Yeah.
Imagine if you were watching a tennis match or a ping pong match or a volleyball match and you had to sit through 9 points until finally a rally appeared. It's you'd probably leave.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good thing for us to stay in tune with throughout this whole process of rule updates is what would actually draw people to this sport, because that is what would allow this sport to grow, which has really, I think, centered both of us, especially me, back on something that we mentioned in our first video that we made about rule change, that it feels like the thing that's really missing from Roundnet is a vision for what this sport should look like.
Yeah.
What do we want the experience to be for not only players but also viewers? Do we want the sport to be something that can be viewed and have paid professionals and have full professional leagues? Because if you want that, you need to think about what is the experience going to be for a viewer. And then you can see with these statistics, it's not it.
Yeah.
And of course, we need more stats to understand what's going on, but I feel like we should always reframe looking at these stats from that point of view of what's the vision for the sport.
Right, because then, like, what is this all based on then?
Yes.
Yeah, that feels really important, is to be clear about what our individual goals are for the sport, and then, like, even more important, just like a collective, like, where do we want to go?
Yes.
Yeah, with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts on, like, how the rules felt, or what if you could see there being even more improvements from here, because the stats are showing us that potentially there needs to be more change or something different?
Yeah, I'm very curious to, this opened my mind to, okay, let's test some even more, let's test some different things.
Yeah, let's go crazy.
Yeah. I do think it's very important that we don't make too many rules.
Yes, I agree.
Like in this version of the game, we had the 3 big rule changes or whatever.
Right.
I guess the ball isn't a rule change; it's an equipment change.
Yeah.
But in terms of rules, we added a bigger no hit zone and an out of bounds.
Yeah.
And I think if you start adding too many things, it just gets too complex.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to find what are the simple changes. Like I think the sport should try to have like 3 main rules or something that then makes it very easy to learn and play. It's one of the beautiful things about Roundnet is that you can teach it and learn it pretty fast as of right now. And I think most good sports are like that, like basketball, soccer, all of these sports. It's like, you can't double dribble, you can't run with holding the ball.
Yeah.
But as long as you know those rules, it's like pretty easy to understand.
Yeah. True.
What about you? Any final thoughts?
I liked that it felt like more so than with the regular rules, the better team will always win.
Yes.
Or almost always win. It's like you have to have really good setting, hitting. You have to play defense fundamentals. It really helps if you know how to put serves on and not just double fault all the time and just swing the crap of the ball, because you're not going to get as many aces. But it's also helpful to know how to get a serve break. Those became like even more clutch. So it felt like the right fundamentals were incentivized, and like, you know, setting was more important. You can't make a bad set and get bailed out by the hitter. At least a lot less.
Yeah.
Also, you can't just boom the crap out of the ball and just get bailed out by that. You know, if the other team's in good defensive positions, you're like, oh crap, let me just swing as hard as I can. Something I do all the time.
Yeah.
It was just really nice to not do that, and not be able to do that. I love long chase downs, and I think that the 30-foot felt too close. That like a chase down from 30 doesn't feel like a long chase down. So I could picture it being more like 35 feet. Some people say 40 feet. I'd be open to trying that, but I could see that extending, which of course like makes hitting a little bit easier still. So that's something.
Yeah.
And the ball needs to be perfected. We don't have the ball we're looking for yet. The ball is just inconsistent. The plastic is inconsistent. The pressure is always changing, so you're always fiddling with the balls. And I'd be super open to testing different balls when they come out. And stuff like that. But besides that, I don't really know. Like you said, I don't want to keep stacking on new rule changes. So again, I'm open to testing new ideas. I'm interested to see what people come up with. But the big thing is, I don't think like we're there. Even with all 3 of these changes, based on the stats and based on how I think a higher level tournament would go. So that's a bummer.
Yeah. It was interesting that at least in our finals, which was the best servers we had throughout the day, it didn't feel like serving was the big issue. Again, I'd love to see the best pros playing with these rules and the best servers. It felt like the big issue was the 1, 2, 3 putaways, meaning that hitting was still overpowered.
Even though the only change to serving was the big ball. Which I'm all for serving with big ball. Like, I don't think anything needs to be changed by serves. Like, big ball just makes serving more possible, but serve receive more possible, but it's still really hard. So it's like you have to be a good serve receiver, which is cool. I love that. But then crazy that hitting is still this big issue, and that had 3 changes on it. It's just like that just shows how overpowered hitting is
Yeah.
comparatively to all the other skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think we'd have to see, because just like when we moved the service line back to 7 feet, it nerfed serving for a short amount of time, but then people figured out 7 feet and all of a sudden it was crazy again.
Right.
I wonder if that would happen with big ball.
Could be, yeah.
If people could immediately or after a couple months start hitting ridiculous serves.
Yeah.
Definitely could be, but no matter what, the ball's going to be slowed down a bit because of its size.
Right.
No matter what, it's going to not bounce as crazy off the net because of its size.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're at.
It was super interesting.
Very interesting. We gave it a good go. It feels like, to me, these all feel like steps in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think any of it I'm not for, any of those changes.
Yeah.
I think they're all better. So that's cool, but it's definitely not.
Still doesn't feel like enough.
Not all the way.
Yeah.
Of what at least we would.
Yeah, at
be
least
for.
through the lens of if you want this to be a spectator sport.
Yeah, and like a rally-based sport.
A rally-based sport.
Yeah.
Which, obviously, looking at the world stats, it's not a rally-based sport if 65% of plays are aces and double faults.
Yeah, nope.
It's like
It ain't.
That's a pitching hitting sport. That's how I've been thinking about Roundnet right now. It's like it's a pitching hitting sport. It's not a rally sport.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is if you look at the stats.
Yeah. I won't be here. I won't be here if that's the future.
Yeah.
Which good thing it's not. No, like the governing bodies are all like, we're moving in a different direction now.
Yeah.
We're doing stuff. Like I love this action. So it's good stuff. Yeah. So
Nice.
Yeah, hit us up with if you have any ideas of added changes or things that you've tried. That's super helpful for us because we're going to keep doing more testing and making more content about it. So yeah, let us know.
Yeah. All right, folks.
Yeah. Until next time.
Keep testing, doing your thing.
Peace.
We'll see ya.